All right, so we hopefully you gave these problems a try. We're going to go through them. I apologize for not being there again today. I've been pulled into another meeting. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk through the warm-up. Then we're going to look at the notes and take some notes on adding and subtracting rational functions. So that means, again, we have a fraction with a polynomial in the numerator and the denominator. And then we will do a little bit of practice, make sure that you're good to go. I'll post a video solution of that so that you can actually hear me talking through it if you get stuck on some stuff. And then after that, no homework, you're good to go. So as long as you get what you need to get done, you should be good. So with these guys, when we're adding and subtracting fractions, it's super important that we have a common denominator. So for example, in this first problem, the 3's are my denominator in both of my fractions, and so I need both of them to be a 3, which they are, and that's amazing. And so once both of these are the same, so both the 3 here and the 3 here are both the same, we can add the numerators. Notice that once you make that denominator the same, that's now my denominator. I'm good, it's gonna stay that way, and I'm just gonna add the numerators. I'm gonna rewrite this a little bit because I think it's how a lot of you guys looked at this in middle school when you were learning it, and for a lot of students it's been really helpful to see it written differently. So a lot of students last year rewrote it like this and said, okay, I have 1/3 plus 2/3, and they saw that their denominators were the same, and they said, okay, that means I'm going to add this 1 plus this 2, and the 3 stays the same. So now it's going to be 1 plus 2 is 3, so I have 3 over 3, and then we simplify, and that gives me 1. So I know that this equals 1. Let's look at the next one. Again, I'm going to rewrite it, and you don't have to rewrite it. Some of you guys can handle working on these right in here, and I'll do that for the last one, but if it helps, do it. So we have 3/4 plus 5/8. And now notice that my denominators this time, 4 and 8, are not the same. And since they're not the same, I need to make them the same. So we need to figure out a number that both 8 and 4 are factors of. And what we're going to do is rewrite our fractions so that they share that common denominator. So the first thing I always do is I check, does 4 divide into 8? Like, can I rewrite 4 to make 8? And I can. So that means my common denominator is going to be 8. So I'm going to put an 8 and an 8. Well, this one down here, this bottom fraction, right, that was already an 8. So I know 5/8 equals 5/8. But I need to transform this top fraction so that it has a denominator of 8. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, 4 times what gives me 8? 4 multiplied by 2 gives me 8, so I need to do that same thing to the numerator. That gives me 6/8. And now we're going to do exactly what we did on the other side. I have my check, my denominators are the same, so I can rewrite this with a denominator of 8 for my answer. And now I'm simply going to add my numerators. So I'm going to add 6 plus 5, and that gives me 11. We are not going to turn this into a mixed number. We're going to leave it as 11/8. We'll always check and see, can this be simplified a little bit more? It can't. I'm done. There's no factors that 11 and 8 share, but we're not going to turn it into a mixed number. Subtraction is going to be the exact same. So I'm going to leave it like this for this one just so that people can see a different way of doing it. But if lining it up like this works for you, line it up like that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say, okay, what's my common denominator between 5 and 4? So I know there's nothing I can multiply 5 by, no integer that I can multiply 5 by to get 4, and no integer that I can multiply 4 by to get 5. So that's out of the question. So the next thing I usually try is I just multiply 5 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20, so I'm going to let 20 be their common denominator. So I'm going to rewrite both of these fractions below as 20 subtract. So something over 20 subtract something else over 20. Well, in order to make this 5 a 20, I had to multiply by 4. So that means I need to multiply my numerator by 4. So I have a 4 up here. 4/20 is the same as 1/5. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply this by 5 because 4 times 5 is 20. So I need to multiply this by 5. And I get 15. And again, my denominators are checked. They're the same, so I can rewrite that denominator. And now what we have going on in the numerator is 4 subtract 15. 4 subtract 15 is -11. So I get -11/20. Again, no number, there isn't a common factor between 11 and 20, and so we're done. And so those were our 3 answers.